HOA threw a pool party in my yard without asking, so I filled the pool with 10,000 rubber ducks. The summer sun blazed over Karen Heights, a neighborhood where every lawn was manicured to perfection and every mailbox bore the HOA's gold-embossed seal of approval. I, Nora Callahan, was the odd one out of freelance artist with a penchant for chaos and a backyard that screamed, "I'd rather paint than mow." My modest ranch house, with its peeling shutters and overgrown jasmine, was a thorn in the side of the HOA president, Karen Whitmore. Karen, with her platinum bob and clipboard perpetually in hand, ruled the cul-de-sac like a suburban dictator. She'd once fined me $50 for leaving a single dandelion in my flower bed, claiming it was a threat to property values. So when I woke up one Saturday to find my backyard transformed into the set of a frat party complete with a DJ booth, tiki torches, and a conga line of Karens in matching visors, I knew this was war. I rubbed sleep from my eyes, staring out my kitchen window. My pool, the one luxury I'd splurged on after selling a mural commission, was overrun. Kids splashed in inflatable flamingos, adults sipped margaritas, and Karen herself lounged on my chaise, barking orders at a caterer. No one had asked me. No one had even knocked. A handwritten sign on my fence read, "HOA Summer Bash Members Only," in Karen's loopy cursive. My blood boiled. This wasn't just a party. It was a hostile takeover. I could have called the cops, but that felt too predictable. Karen thrived on confrontation. She'd probably spin it into a sob story about community spirit. No, I needed something bolder. Something that screamed Nora Callahan. That's when I remembered the rubber ducks. Last year, I'd bought 10,000 of them for a quirky art installation that never materialized. They were stacked in my garage, a sea of yellow plastic waiting for their moment. A grin spread across my face. If Karen wanted my pool, she'd get it duck style. I hauled the boxes to the backyard, ignoring the thumping bass and Karen's voice droning about poolside decorum. The party was in full swing, with at least 50 people trampling my petunias. I climbed onto the pool deck, hidden by a hedge, and started dumping. One box, then two, then 10. The ducks cascaded into the water like a surreal avalanche, bobbing and squeaking as they spread. The first shriek came from a kid in a unicorn flow tie. "Ducks," he yelled, half thrilled, half terrified. Heads turned. Margaritas paused mid-sip. Karen shot up from her chaise, visor askew, as the pool transformed into a quacking nightmare. "What is this?" she screeched, wading into the shallow end. Ducks swirled around her, their beady eyes mocking her fury. I stepped out from behind the hedge, arms crossed, savoring the chaos. "Just adding some flair to your party, Karen," I said sweetly. "Thought you'd appreciate the ambience." The crowd erupted, some laughing, others gasping, a few snapping photos. Karen's face turned the color of her watermelon sangria. "This is vandalism," she sputtered. "You're ruining our event." I shrugged. "My pool, my rules." "You didn't ask, so I improvised." A guy in a Hawaiian shirt snorted, nearly choking on his drink. Karen spun on him. "Don't encourage her, Greg." But Greg was already filming, ducks bobbing in the background like tiny rebels. I expected her to storm off or threaten legal action, but Karen doubled down. "Fine," she hissed. "We'll party through this. Everyone, back to the music." The DJ cranked the volume, and the Karens resumed their conga line, albeit with less enthusiasm. Ducks floated into their drinks. Kids started a duck-throwing contest. I retreated to my porch, sipping iced tea, watching my revenge unfold. It was glorious until I noticed the old man. He sat alone on my garden bench, untouched by the chaos. White hair, tweed jacket despite the heat, and a sad, distant look in his eyes. I didn't recognize him from the HOA crowd. Curious, I approached. "You okay, sir?" I asked, dodging a rogue duck that sailed past. He blinked, as if waking from a dream. "Oh yes, just remembering." His voice was soft, cracked with age. "This house used to be ours. My wife and I built that pool." I froze. "You lived here?" He nodded. 40 years ago. Name's Arthur. We raised our kids in this yard. After my Ellen passed, I couldn't stay. Sold it to a young couple. Then you, I suppose." He smiled faintly. "Never thought I'd see it again." My stomach twisted. This wasn't just my battlefield. It was someone's memory. I glanced at the pool, now an absurd sea of ducks, and felt a pang of guilt. "I'm sorry about all this." I said, gesturing vaguely. Arthur chuckled. Don't be. Ellen would have loved it. She had a wicked sense of humor. Before I could respond, Karen marched over, clipboard in tow. Nora, this is unacceptable. And who's this? She eyed Arthur like he was another unapproved dandelion. I bristled. A guest. Unlike you. Arthur stood, shaky but dignified. I was just leaving, ma'am. Don't mind me. Karen huffed, but something in his quiet gravitas made her back off. As he shuffled toward the gate, he turned to me. Thanks for the show, Nora. You've got some spirit. Then he was gone, swallowed by the crowd. I stood there, rattled. Arthur's presence shifted something in me. This wasn't just about petty revenge anymore. I needed to reclaim my space, but maybe there was a one that honored the ghosts of Ellen and Arthur's laughter, not just my own ego. I scanned the party, plotting. Karen was back at her chaise, rallying her troops. Greg, the Hawaiian shirt guy, was still filming, now with a duck perched on his head. And then I spotted her. Tammy, the HOA's resident wallflower. Quiet, mousy, always trailing Karen with a nervous smile. She was picking ducks out of the pool, stacking them carefully, like she was trying to something precious. An idea sparked. I sidled up to Tammy. Hey, enjoying the duckpocalypse? She jumped, nearly dropping her stack. Oh, it's creative, she mumbled. I leaned in, lowering my voice. You know, Karen's taking credit for the ducks. Said it was her avant-garde idea to spice things up. Tammy's eyes widened. She did. I nodded solemnly. Yup, bet she'll get a plaque for it. Tammy's lips pursed, a tiny crack in her loyalty. I pressed further. You do all her grunt work, don't you? Ever think about stealing her thunder? Tammy blushed, shaking her head, but I saw the spark in her eyes. The seed was planted. The party dragged on, ducks multiplying like my regrets. Karen's karaoke rendition of Sweet Caroline was the low point, her voice echoing off the neighborhood. I kept an eye on Tammy, who was now near the DJ booth, whispering to Greg. Greg's grin widened, and he gave me a sly thumbs up. Something was brewing. I stayed back, sipping my tea, waiting for the twist. Then it hit. The music cut again, and Mousy little Tammy grabbed the mic. Everyone, I have an announcement, she squeaked. The crowd hushed, stunned. Karen froze, her margarita halfway to her lips. Tammy cleared her throat, voice growing bolder. I'm running for HOA president next month, and I plan the ducks as a symbol of a fun. We need fun, not fines. The crowd gasped. Greg hooped, filming like a proud director. Karen's jaw hit the deck. I nearly spat out my tea. Tammy, you legend, I thought. She'd taken my lie and turned it into a coup. The Karens whispered, some clapping, others glaring. Karen stormed to the booth. This is nonsense. I didn't, but Tammy cut her off. You never listen, Karen. It's time for change. The crowd cheered, swept up in the drama. Even the kids stopped throwing ducks to chant, Tammy, Tammy. I laughed, torn between pride and disbelief. My revenge had birthed a revolution. But as Tammy basked in her moment, I glanced at the gate. Arthur was back, watching silently, a single rubber duck still in his hand. His eyes met mine, and he nodded, as if to say, well played. Then he turned and left, his silhouette fading into the twilight. My chest tightened. This victory felt hollow somehow. I'd won the battle, but what had I lost in the process? The party roared on, but I slipped inside, the duck's squeaks echoing like a mocking chorus. Karen's war wasn't over and neither was mine. The sun dipped below the horizon, painting Karen Heights in hues of orange and purple, but the chaos in my backyard showed no signs of slowing. The rubber ducks bobbed relentlessly, a yellow sea of defiance against Karen Whitmore's iron-fisted HOA reign. Tammy's unexpected rebellion had shifted the party's energy. Half the crowd was now chanting her name, while the other half, loyal to Karen, huddled in cliques, whispering furiously. I leaned against my porch railing, the weight of Arthur's fleeting visit lingering like a bruise. My prank had sparked something bigger than I'd intended, and I wasn't sure whether to revel in it or run. Karen, ever the strategist, regained her composure with terrifying speed. She climbed onto a picnic table, megaphone in hand, her visor now a crown of authority. Neighbors, she bellowed, silencing the crowd. This spectacle, she gestured at the duck-infested pool, is not what our community stands for. We value order, respect, and permission. Her eyes locked on me, sharp as a hawk's. Nora Callahan has disrespected us all. I move we fine her $500 for this disruption. A few loyalists clapped, but the cheers for Tammy drowned them out. Greg, still filming, zoomed in on Karen's reddening face, clearly loving the drama. I stepped forward, ready to fire back, but Tammy beat me to it. No fines, she shouted, still clutching the DJ's mic. Nora's ducks are a wake-up call. We're tired of your rules, Karen. This neighborhood needs joy, not clipboards. The crowd roared, and I caught Greg winking at Tammy, his phone now streaming live to the neighborhood's private X group. Karen's expression flickered panic, then fury. She hadn't seen this coming, and neither had I. Tammy, the wallflower, was stealing the spotlight, and I was just the spark that lit her fuse. But the victory felt bittersweet. Arthur's words echoed in my mind. This house used to be ours. My pool wasn't just a battleground. It was a memory, a piece of someone's life. I scanned the crowd, half hoping to see him again, but he was gone. Instead, I noticed something odd. Greg was no longer filming Tammy. He was by the pool, whispering to a group of teens who were piling ducks into trash bags. Suspicion prickled. Was he cleaning up to undermine me? Or was something else brewing? I approached, casual but alert. Greg, what's the plan here? I asked, eyeing the bags. He grinned, all teeth and mischief. Just helping out, Nora. These ducks are gold, literally. I know a guy who buys quirky props for film sets. We split the profits, yeah? I blinked. My revenge was turning into a side hustle. Before I could respond, one of the teens, a lanky kid with braces, piped up. We're also making a TikTok. Duckpocalypse is trending. I groaned inwardly. My prank was now a meme, and Greg was playing entrepreneur. This was spiraling. I turned back to the party, where Tammy was now leading an impromptu vote for more fun, less fines. Karen looked like she was one margarita away from a meltdown. I should have been thrilled, but Arthur's quiet presence gnawed at me. I slipped inside to clear my head, the thumping music muffled by my kitchen walls. That's when I found Ida faded Polaroid tucked under a fridge magnet, left behind by the previous owners. It showed a younger Arthur and a woman with a radiant smile, standing by my pool. No ducks, just love. Ellen, I presumed. The note on the back read, Summer 78-hour oasis. My throat tightened. This house, this pool, was their story, and I'd turned it into a circus. The guilt hit harder than Karen's fines. I needed to end this, but not with more chaos. I needed meaning. I grabbed my sketchpad, a habit when words failed means started drawing. The ducks, the pool, Arthur's sad eyes, Tammy's defiance. It wasn't just a prank anymore. It was a story about reclaiming joy, about fighting for what matters. I sketched until my fingers ached, the party's noise fading into a distant hum. By midnight, the crowd had thinned, leaving a wreckage of cups, streamers, and ducks. Karen had retreated, vowing to address this at the next meeting. Tammy was the night's hero, surrounded by neighbors plotting her campaign. Greg and his teen crew had cleared half the pool, their trash bags bulging. I didn't care about the profits. I just wanted my yard back. But as I started scooping ducks into a bucket, Tammy approached, her nervous energy replaced by a quiet fire. Nora, I thank you, she said. I never would have spoken up without you. I shrugged, uncomfortable with the praise. You did the heavy lifting. I just brought the ducks. She laughed, then hesitated. Can I ask you something? Why'd you do it? This wasn't just about Karen. I thought of Arthur, the Polaroid, the weight of a home's history. Let's just say I'm figuring out what this place means, I said. Tammy nodded, like she understood more than I'd said. The next morning, I woke to a quiet neighborhood. The pool was mostly duck-free, thanks to Greg's hustle, but my yard looked like a tornado had hit. I started cleaning, replaying the night's events. Tammy's rebellion was a win, but Karen wasn't done. She'd fight dirtier now, and I'd need allies. That's when my phone buzzed a text from an unknown number. Meet me at the diner on 5th, 10 a.m. Arthur. My heart skipped. How did he get my number? Why was he back? The diner was a greasy spoon straight out of the 70s, all chrome and vinyl. Arthur sat in a corner booth, nursing a coffee, the same tweed jacket draped over his thin frame. I slid in across from him. You left something at my house, I said, sliding the Polaroid across the table. His eyes softened. Ellen loved that pool, he said. We'd dance by it at night, just the two of us. Silly, maybe, but it was ours. I swallowed hard. I didn't know. I'm sorry I turned it into that. He waved me off. You reminded me of her. She'd have filled the pool with flamingos just to mess with the neighbors. He chuckled, but his eyes were wet. I came back because I heard about the HOA mess. Karen's been terrorizing this place for years. Ellen fought her type, kept this neighborhood alive. You're doing the same, in your way. I didn't feel like a hero. I just wanted to get even, I admitted. Arthur leaned forward. Sometimes getting even starts something bigger. Tammy's running because of you. People are talking. That's power, Nora. Use it. He slid a small notebook across the table. Ellen's old notes, ideas for the neighborhood. Block parties, art fairs, real community stuff. Maybe they'll inspire you. I opened the notebook later at home. Pages of Ellen's neat handwriting spilled out plans for garden clubs, kids' swim meets, even a mural project like the ones I painted. My chest ached. This was the soul of the house I'd been ignoring, too caught up in my war with Karen. I spent the day reading, sketching, planning. By evening, I had a vision, not just revenge, but rebirth. The next HOA meeting was a battlefield. Karen, armed with a revised rulebook, proposed a $1,000 fine for my vandalism. Tammy countered with a motion to dissolve the HOA's punitive powers, backed by half the room. I stood, holding Ellen's notebook like a talisman. This neighborhood used to be about joy, I said, voice shaking. Ellen and Arthur Callahan built that pool for love, not rules. We can do better than fines and clipboards. Let's make this place alive again. I shared Ellen's ideas, passing around sketches I'd drawn inspired by her notes. The room buzzed, some nodding, others whispering. Karen's face was stone, but she was losing ground. The vote was close, but Tammy's motion passed. Karen stormed out, vowing to sue. The crowd stayed, buzzing with ideas: block parties, art walks, a duck-themed fundraiser for the community center. Greg, now Tammy's unofficial campaign manager, was already posting about it on X. I felt a flicker of hope, but it was tempered by the Polaroid in my pocket. Arthur hadn't come to the meeting. I'd texted him, but no reply. Days later, I found out why. A neighbor mentioned Arthur had been in the hospital, heart trouble. Nothing new for a man his age, but serious. I visited, bringing the Polaroid and a single rubber duck. He was frail, hooked to monitors, but his eyes lit up. You kept the fight going, he said weakly. Ellen would be proud. I tried to smile, but the words stuck. I'm keeping the notebook, I said. We're starting her art fair next month. He squeezed my hand. Good. Keep the pool full of life, Nora. Ducks or no ducks. Arthur didn't make it to the art fair. He passed quietly a week later, leaving a hole I hadn't expected. The fair was a success. Kids painted murals, Tammy led a duck parade, and even Greg sold his last batch of ducks for charity. Karen moved away, her reign over. But as I stood by the pool, now clear and sparkling, I felt no triumph. I saw Arthur and Ellen dancing in the moonlight, their laughter echoing in a home I'd only begun to understand. I'd won the war, but at what cost? The ducks were gone, the party over, and all I had left was a notebook and a promise to keep their spirit alive. What do you think? Was Nora's prank a justified rebellion? Or did it go too far? Did Tammy's rise redeem the chaos? Or was Karen right about order? Share your thoughts. Where do you stand in this suburban saga?